Nie wiem. Kasieńka, nie wiem gdzie. No, pokaż. Może jest źle wsadzony.
Jest jeszcze inny niż mój, ale on działa.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for us to open this official inauguration of the International Congress on Education Quality.
It is for the third time that we are here together. For the third time, we can talk about the challenges the higher education must face. For the third time, we can meet and think together.
Meetings and talks about education quality make us aware of how different we are. On the other hand, this Congress helps us realize how much we have in common and how much we can learn from one another. I'm convinced that the Congress intensifies our efforts toward providing the best education possible.
We are proud of the team that cooperates with us. Thank you for your presence and engagement, constant improvements of the Congress formula. We have all found out that we need this event. It is needed every year, but especially this year when it takes place in the European City of Science.
We all know that people are the most important in each event, people who create it and who participate in it. Students and doctoral students have actively joined us this year. For example, the Council of Youth in the European City of Science, Katowice 2024, together with Erasmus Plus students, debated why Katowice is a good place to study and tried to decide what can be fascinating about the Silesian campus for Erasmus Plus students.
Before we give floor to our younger colleagues, please let us ask you to send a few words about our Congress to your friends, colleagues. Traditional postcards have been prepared for you, and a mailbox will be available during the Congress.
We wish you many important and inspiring talks, reflections, and meetings. May this Congress be again an event that is worth waiting for all year. And now we invite Aleksandra Osika and Patryk Trzcionka. The floor is yours.
One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. So, ladies and gentlemen, we would... Okay, once again. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome you to the heart of the European City of Science, Katowice.
On a beautiful sunny autumn day.
Several meters underground.
In the absolutely stunning and unique interiors of the Silesian Museum.
At the 3rd International Congress on Education Quality.
We would like to thank Dr. Katarzyna Trynda, Associate Professor, the originator and member of the Program Council of the International Congress on Educational Quality, Vice-Rector of Student Affairs and Education of the University of Silesia in Katowice, and
Dr. Katarzyna Sujkowska, Associate Professor, Originator and Member of the Program Council on the International Congress on Education Quality, Director of the College of General University Education. Thank you very much for the opportunity to host today's ceremony.
Please now allow us to introduce ourselves.
In front of you, Aleksandra Osika, PhD student at the International Environmental Doctoral School associated with the Center for Polar Studies at the University of Silesia in Katowice, glaciologist and glacial geomorphologist. She studies glaciers on Svalbard and the landforms resulting from their activity.
And Patryk Trzcionka, fourth-year PhD student at the doctoral school at the University of Silesia, studying philosophy. He deals with the issue of the relationship between freedom and property on the basis of the libertarian theory of justice.
Yeah. Together, we have the great pleasure to hosting the inauguration, combined with a panel discussion on different perspectives on student and employee mobility. You know, from my perspective, Katowice changes so dynamically from year to year that really you don't have to go anywhere to get the illusion of mobility.
However, it is not about illusions that we will hear today, but about the real experiences of experts from around the world.
Yeah, but before we move on to welcoming our special guests, we would like to say a few words about what this year's event means to us, PhD students.
As young researchers on the border of two worlds, that of students and university employees, we are both beneficiaries of the improving quality of education at our universities, and we are directly interested in implementing the latest methods in our educational work. We will hear a lot about all of this in the coming days, but there is more. Perhaps the most important thing.
Yeah. To quote Oscar Wilde, education is an admirable thing, but it is well to remember from time to time that nothing that is worth knowing can be taught.
And what is definitely worth getting to know are people. All these fantastic guests and participants providing unique opportunities to talk, establishing contacts, relationships, and exchange experiences.
That is why we encourage you to look boldly around the room, look at each other with a smile and nod, and say, yes, you are stuck here together.
We are stuck, ladies and gentlemen, but in a great company. We have the great honor of welcoming our guests today.
On behalf of the rectors of the universities forming the academic consortium, Katowice City of Science, Professor Ryszard Koziołek, rector of the University of Silesia in Katowice.
Professor Tomasz Szczepański, rector of the Medical University of Silesia in Katowice.
Professor Engineer Marek Pawełczyk, rector of the Silesian University of Technology, represented today by Professor Engineer Zbigniew Paszenda, Vice-Rector for Infrastructure and Investments.
Professor Engineer Celina Olszak, rector of the University of Economics in Katowice, who is represented today by Dr. Engineer Tomasz Zieliński, Associate Professor of the University of Economics, Vice-Dean of the School of the University of Economics in Katowice.
Dr. Jarosław Mamczarski, Associate Professor of the Academy of Music, Rector of the Karol Szymanowski Academy of Music in Katowice.
Professor Grzegorz Heinderek, Rector of the Academy of Fine Arts and Design in Katowice, who is represented today by Dr. Lesław Tetla, Associate Professor of the Academy of Fine Arts and Design, Vice-Rector for Education and Students of the Academy of Fine Arts in Katowice.
And last but not least, Professor Andrzej Małecki, Rector of the Academy of Physical Education in Katowice.
We welcome Joanna Sekuła, Senator of the Republic of Poland, Marcin Czaja, Director of the Development of University Organization, Education and Student Affairs at the Ministry of Science and Higher Education, Tomasz Huk, Silesian Vice-Curator of Education, Dr. Łukasz Gołota, Deputy Director of the Polish National Agency for Academic Exchange. Professor Dariusz Dolański, Head of the Team of Humanities, Family Sciences and Theological Sciences of the Polish Accreditation Committee. Larry Jackson from the Columbia University, USA. Emre Erol from the Sabancı University, Turkey.
Representatives of ministerial, voivodeship, and local government authorities, including academic cities, the Committee of Honor, and the member of the Program Council. University representatives, rectors, vice-rectors, deans, chancellors, academic teachers, administration employees, students, PhD students, graduates, and the entire academic community.
Representatives of educational, medical, and business environments, representatives of cultural and media institutions.
As well as all arriving guests.
We will now ask Professor Ryszard Koziołek, Rector of the University of Silesia, to take the stage.
And speech.
I'm only a modest literary scholar and university officer called rector. Good morning, all of you, fans and friends of education, especially a good education. Not so long ago, during the conversation about the power of the internet, especially instruments of internet, machines of internet, learning machines, one of our colleagues asked, if everything is in the internet, why don't we know everything yet? We stopped talking. There was a confused silence. After the epidemic and online learning, we are still asking ourselves the question about the traditional university. Why is being together here, also here, better than being together online? The costs are lower for both sides, and why, despite this, we insist on learning together? It was a good question, and the answer to good question is always a bit to side, not directly. Mine is simple, because creating and sharing knowledge is a social fact. We learn better together in a diverse knowledge environment with people other than me. It's horrible vision to live with the people like the same like I am. There is evidence behind this, but also intuition that the social context of learning is as important as learning itself. Knowledge only makes sense when it's embodied in a specific human being. I hope that this perspective will also find a place in your conversation, discussions, speeches. I warmly welcome you to the University of Silesia and to the hospitable Silesian Museum when we are now. The Congress of Education Quality is the most important academic event in Poland devoted to the future of academic education. I would like to thank you, everyone who made it possible, especially my colleague and friend Kasia Trynda, Vice Rector for Student Education at our university, and all of you who are working on it, who have been working on this Congress. I wish you joy and benefit from sharing your knowledge in person. But now I would like to excuse you because I'm leaving you for a while because I have to run to meet my student in person. But as Arnold Schwarzenegger says, I'll be back.
Thank you, Professor.
Ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to travel back in time. Let's reminisce and summarize 3 years of our joint work on the International Congress on Education Quality.
we invite you to share your thoughts with us.
Joining us are Dr. Lesław Tetla, Associate Professor of the Academy of Fine Arts and Design, Vice-Rector of Education and Students of the Academy of Fine Arts in Katowice.
Yeah, come on, join to us, please. Angelika Nurzyńska from the Erasmus Plus office at Jerzy Kukuczka Academy of Physical Education in Katowice.
Professor Engineer Zbigniew Paszenda, Vice-Rector for Infrastructure and Investments, and Professor Engineer Beata Orlińska, Director of the College of Studies of the Silesian University of Technology.
Dr. Engineer Tomasz Zieliński, Associate Professor of the University of Economics, Vice-Dean of the School of the University of Economics in Katowice.
Dr. Magdalena Bąk, Associate Professor of the University of Silesia, and Dr. Marta Margiel, co-organizing the International Congress on Educational Quality on behalf of the University of Silesia from its first edition.
And Professor Tomasz Szczepański, Rector of the Medical University of Silesia in Katowice.
Raz.
The seat is yours, so we encourage you to sit. And we have now a few questions to you. Okay, so let's begin. First question. For Academy of Fine Arts and Design in Katowice, we would like to ask Dr. Lesław Tetla, Associate Professor. Professor, please tell us how ICEQ changed our universities and education at our universities in last time.
I will try.
Yeah.
It's not easy question, but I cannot speak for all universities, but from my perspective, from perspective of Academy of Fine Arts and Design, we see a lot of benefits. However, we have to think about those benefits in the context, broader context than just Congress. I mean, I think about whole events, whole activities connected to European City of Science. So when I have to ask the question, how have we changed? I would like to say that for sure we are more open for cooperation, open for our neighbors, for example. We are more open for audience. I have to say that we have just open days at the Academy, and yesterday we had more visitors than our students, number of our students, so we are really lucky. We have more interdisciplinary projects with support from external experts. And we just working on the structure with such values like accessibility, identity, living, and there is this last one, like the environment. So around those things, those values, we try to construct our new strategy. And finally, I would like to say what does not change. I mean, in the center of our attention is student as a person, with individual person, with unique background and very unique sensitivity. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So now we have a question to the Academy of Physical Education in Katowice, because it's good to hear that so much good is happening thanks to the Congress, but perhaps it's also worth talking about with whom in mind we prepare activities at our universities and the central events of the Congress every year. So who are the Congress participants? And we would like to ask the Angelika Namurzyńska to answer this question.
Well, as the Congress raises issue of the quality of the education in a broad sense, it gathers all kinds of people interested and related to its quality, development, internationalization, accreditation, and many other aspects. All activities are directed not only for the university, local, and even national authorities who make the rules and care about the quality, development, and thriving of the universities and research centers. But of course, this is only a fraction of the participants. The activities are primarily aimed at those who on daily basis deal with some educational problems and make every effort to ensure the students leave the universities rich in both practical and theoretical skills, as well as with good memories and desire for the future learning and development. So that is, of course, our academic teachers and all that are involved in the process of teaching and the development of teaching. The big part is also, of course, the administrative staff that supports students, teachers, authorities every day to make the entire educational process possible and easier, and the realization of the principles possible. And also, of course, there are students whose opinions, feedbacks, and satisfaction with the educational process are the most important to us, and the Congress is not only the answer to discuss the obstacles they face, but also a chance for us to listen to their problems, experiences, and new ideas.
Indeed. We host various figures during the Congress. Various people take part in our activities. Please tell us about the most interesting topics discussed during the Congress. We would like to ask Professor Engineer Zbigniew Paszenda and Professor Engineer Beata Rolińska to say a few words in regards to that.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a great honor to be here to participate in this Congress. I believe the most interesting topic addressed at the conference is the internationalization of education. This trend is rapidly growing among higher education institutions and around the world. Internationalization in higher education brings several benefits. It improves quality of teaching and learning, desirable skills and competences of students, develops their cultural sensibility and awareness of unknown behaviors and environments, and strengthens the production of knowledge, helps students develop the global critical thinking skills that are essential to contributing as citizens of the world and competing in the international marketplace. The European Universities Initiative was created to promote internationalization and collaboration among European universities. As part of this initiative, the Salesian University of Technology has joined the European University Alliance, known as Eureka Pro. Through this partnership, we have gained valuable knowledge on how to provide a shared education, embracing diversity and fostering mutual support. These collaborative approaches are designed to help students develop critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, and entrepreneurial skills. By learning together and embracing our differences, we build a strong foundation for future success. Now, I would like to ask Professor Beata Rolińska for some additional information, Professor Beata Orlińska is the director of the College of Studies at the Silesian University of Technology.
Dear rectors, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor and pleasure to be here at this prestigious event in Katowice. In response to the question briefly, I must say that the Congress is full of impressive events and relevant discussion, and among the panels, debates, the topic that stands up for me is modern teaching methods, which were the subject of the first day of, one of the subjects of the first day of Congress dedicated to the didactic innovation. In connection with this, yesterday at our university, we discussed how project-based learning can develop students' competences, both engineering and future-oriented competences that are critical in today's labor market. Silesian University of Technology implements successfully the project-based learning method during last academic year. More than 200 PBL projects were conducted by our students, and yesterday, during the poster session, we could see the remarkable results of this implementation. And I would like to encourage all of you to visit Gliwice. The poster will remain on displays until the end of Congress, and I believe that the poster can inspire by the students' creativity. Other interesting topic I'm convinced will be today's discussion about the education by students' participation in a research project. I believe that participation of students in such project enrich them and lead to unexpectedly positive results. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now we would like to ask Dr. Engineer Tomasz Zieliński, Associate Professor of the University of Economics. As we know, many people took part in the Congress, and the topics discussed are diverse and take different formats. With that in mind, what are we doing to make the Congress as a well-known event in the international and national space?
Okay, I have to admit that watching you from that perspective could be a bit stressful, but anyway, I'm very happy to have opportunity to represent my University of Economics in Katowice. Well, I am asked about our promotional activities, so maybe I should start with busting out about how active we are in that field. But to start with, let me share my private impression that year by year that Congress is developing and is getting the idea of self-propelled activity, something as mythical, elusive idea of perpetuum mobile. I have impression that year by year we don't need to care that much about promotion of that Congress. It's not that the Congress needs us to meet its extended ego. It's just opposite. Actually, that is us who need that Congress. I have impression that feeling the pressure of increasing civilizational challenges, we need to cooperate, we need to share our experiences, and that Congress can help us with that very, very much. And how we use that opportunity, it's up to us. Of course, on the other hand, it doesn't mean that we are neglecting our duties in the field of promoting recognition of the Congress. As I see it, our promotional activities we could divide into 4 fields. The first one is promotion within our parental universities. Primarily, we start with promoting among the members of our academic societies the idea that science and teaching go in hand. these are not separate and independent activities, just opposite. Only joining these two fields we can gain our educational success. Only that way we can provide modern teaching techniques, modern methods, very good quality, and only that way we can provide the high quality of our educational offer. We have also, and we are doing that, all of us probably, we are promoting the phantom of the Congress among our students, providing them every year better quality of workshops, lectures, conferences, seminars, etc., etc. The second field of promotion is inter-university promotion. As I see it, that field of promotion was neglected previously a little bit by us. And now, thanks to the Congress and thanks to the consortium of our universities, we can easily look into the backyard of other universities completely different. Thanks to the Congress, it's much easier to promote our educational experiences among our friends representing different disciplines. And together we can even stronger discover the power of diversity. The third field, promotion in the socio-economic environment. Promoting the Congress, we actually are promoting how good our students are. We are showing to the city, we are showing to the business what's the power of our human resources, and they build on the basis of that resources. Representing economic university, I couldn't pass over the fact that that type of promotion especially pays off to each of us. And finally, international promotion. Even if it's not direct promotion, to be honest. But at first, the evidence of that promotion is international exchange of better students and better teachers. And the second pillar of that promotion are foreign students and speakers, experts participating in that Congress. And finally, it is cooperation with domestic and foreign institutions, institutions coordinating, who can see as a counterparty, not unique, single and competing institutions, but they can see the power of united institutions speaking with one voice, cooperating and coordinating our, I should say, activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question we would like to direct to Dr. Marta Margiel and Dr. Magdalena Bąk, Associate Professor of the University of Silesia. So, since we have talked about the international dimension of the Congress, let's consider whether there are any tangible benefits resulting from the fact that from the first edition of the Congress, we have been inviting our partners from educational projects implemented under grant programs.
Actually, there are many benefits, there are many examples that we would like to mention here, but since we have very short time, it's impossible. But let us emphasize just two elements that we believe are of special importance. The first one being a very visibility of didactic international projects. Academic staff has been involved in this sort of activities for years, but we've been always missing a forum to exchange our ideas and, above all, to share the results of our projects. International Congress on Educational Quality has turned out to be a perfect forum of that kind. Each year we offer several workshops presenting various didactic projects, and especially the projects that aim precisely at enhancing the quality of education. Through these workshops, we manage not only to disseminate our project's results effectively, but we also make sure that these results are going to be implemented both at Polish and foreign higher education institutions. And that is why we get engaged in such projects in the first place, because we want to have influence, because we want to make change, and we want to improve the didactics.
And secondly, thanks to joint discussions with our foreign partners and friends, we have managed to select some key areas which we find crucial nowadays. Just to give you some examples, so through workshops, which are always the part of the Congress, we were able to disseminate practical tools for effective communication in digital era. So it was a Beacon project. We shared the idea of cross-disciplinary academic offer, which was the Crocodile project, or the gender equality program in academia on rising diversity. We were able to understand the concept of peace education, which was explained by the expert from the Caucasus region. Discussions and networking moments brought us to some new projects that are being implemented now. There are many of them, but I just wanted to mention Spaces project, which is about social skills in contemporary academia. It is called Students' Path to Self-Awareness. And the second one, Diverse Humility project, which is focusing on students' ability to be employed when they have any disabilities. This year, we have already had the chance to discuss some new current project ideas. Just I would like to mention micro-credentials. I would like to say something about critical thinking skills, and we also talked about emotional intelligence in the higher education. So the story
continues.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, we would like to ask Professor Tomasz Szczepański, Director of the Medical University of Silesia in Katowice. So we have a question. Why do you think we need the International Congress on Educational Quality?
Educational quality is the essence we all know, and we express this. I think it's very good to exchange opinion not only in our country, on our country base, but also within the international community, because now we have very dynamic world. Many of different educational techniques appear also in Poland, and it's good on one hand to show our progress, on the other hand to learn from our partners, international partners, what can we improve to make, on one hand, studying very attractive, on the other hand to keep quality. We are in the area that's maybe not the most attractive one in Poland, but this is also very important that we put very much effort to quality. And so famous Silesian quality, Silesian hard working, I think it's the basis for, of course, also other innovations. And I'm really happy that we meet here in Katowice again in the international forum, because every year this gives us additional thoughts, additional solutions, but also gives us lots of energy to further work on the quality improvement.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. You can go back to your seats. Thank you for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Everything we have heard about just now would not be possible without the members of the Committee of Honor, the Program Council, and the partners of today's event, whom we would like to thank from the bottom of our hearts.
We would like to thank the member of the Committee of Honor for accepting our invitation, supporting our initiative, meeting with us, and sharing their knowledge. We would like to especially thank those of you who are with us here in Katowice and contribute to this unique event. We also would like to thank the members of the Program Council of the Congress, as well as all the people involved in this organization.
Thank you for countless meetings, creative involvements and the discussions. It is thanks to you that this Congress reached its shape.
The International Congress on Education Quality is also supported by numerous institutions.
It's a great honor for us that this edition of the Congress is taking place under the honorary patronage of ministers who are key for all members of our consortium. The Minister of Science, the Minister of Culture and National Heritage, and the Minister of Health, as well as the Voivode of Silesia, the Marshal of the Silesian Voivodeship, the Mayor of Katowice, and the Chair of the Management Board of Metropolis GZM. The President of the Conference of Rectors of Academic Schools in Poland, the President of the Polish Accreditation Committee, and the Director of the National Information Processing Institute, National Research Institute.
We would also like to thank our event partners, Silesian Voivodeship, the City of Katowice, the Metropolis GZM, and the Silesian Museum, as well as other partners. The Polish National Agency for Academic Exchange, the Foundation for the Development of the Education System Erasmus+, the European Solidarity Corps, the National Centre for Research and Development.
Now we would like to invite several people to the stage, and please stay here until the end to take commemorative photo. We would like to invite Professor Ryszard Koziołek, sorry, he left, rector of the university, but Tomasz Szczepański, yeah, he's here, I suppose, yes. Tomasz Szczepański, rector of the Medical University of Silesia in Katowice, as well as
the members of the Committee of Honors who are with us today. Marcin Czaja, Director of the Department of University of Organization, Education and Student Affairs at the Ministry of Science and Higher Education. Tomasz Huk, Silesian Vice-Curator of Education, representing Aleksandra Dyla, Silesian Curator of Education. Martyna Kozłowska-Żukowska, Manager of the project Universities of the Future, New Opportunities in the Field of Education, Concept and Results of Educational Tutoring of the National Centre for Research and Development, representing Professor Engineer Jerzy Łachowski, Director of the National Centre for Research and Development.
And Dr. Łukasz Gołota, Deputy Director of the Polish National Agency for Academic Exchange, representing Wojciech Karczewski, Director of the Polish National Agency for Academic Exchange. Professor Dariusz Dolański, Head of the Team of Humanities, Family Science and Technological Science of the Polish Accreditation Committee, representing Dr. Engineer Janusz Uriasz, the President of the Polish Accreditation Committee.
Aleksandra Lewandowska, representative of the National Council of PhD Students, representing Michał Klimczyk, the Chair of the National Representation of PhD Students. Professor Joanna Wójcik, Vice-Rector of Students' Affairs and Education at the University of Adam Mickiewicz in Poznań. Dr. Benedikt Odyja, Associate Professor of the Kazimierz Wielki University in Bydgoszcz.
We also invite members of the Program Council present at today's ceremony. Dr. Katarzyna Trynda, Associate Professor of the University of Silesia.
Dr. Katarzyna Sujkowska, Associate Professor of the University of Silesia.
Dr. Lecław Tetla, Associate Professor of the Academy of Fine Arts and Design.
Dr. Marta Więckowska, Expert in Visual Communication and UX Research, Academy of Fine Arts and Design.
Professor Jerzy Stojko, Vice-Rector of Academic Affairs, Medical University of Silesia.
And Dr. Ewa Chodurek, Associate Professor of the Medical University of Silesia.
And also Dr. Marek Roszak, Associate Professor, Silesian University of Technology.
We also invite our partners who are here with us today. Dr. Piotr Makuch, Plenipotentiary of the Director for Administrative and Technical Matters of the Silesian Museum, representing Dr. Karol Makres, Acting Director of the Silesian Museum.
thank you for patience. And now is the time for commemorative photo.
Thank you very much once again, and we hope to jointly organize the Congress next year, traditionally in October.
Take the occasion. We would also like to thank the media representatives that are with us. Forum Akademickie, Polish Radio Katowice, Perspektywy and Gazeta Wyborcza Daily.
And now we invite you to the second part of the inauguration, a panel discussion, different perspectives on student and employee mobility, led by Aleksandra Lewandowska, representative of the National Council of PhD Students.
Yeah, we invite Ms. Lewandowska to the stage to introduce the panelists who honored us with their presence today.
Well, that's all from us. Thank you very much for the opportunity to leading this event.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure for us. Good luck. It's happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Good morning yet. Your Magnificence, dear professors, dear academic faculty, PhD candidates, and students, if you are here. As Alexandra and Mateusz said, we are stuck here for 1.5 hours left. But as they also said, we are stuck here with very interested and very experienced people with whom we will explore the diverse perspectives of students and staff mobility, considering different academic fields, institutional roles, and international collaboration experience during the panel called The Diverse Perspectives on Student and Staff Mobility. So please welcome our honorable guests, and I would like to invite to the stage Professor Larry Jackson, the Dean of Academic Affairs, Director of the Center for the Course Curriculum at Columbia College at Columbia University in New York, and lecturer in philosophy. Yes, please take a seat. Dr. Emre Erol, Director of Foundations Development and Associate Professor at Sabancı University in Istanbul, Turkey. His Magnificence, Professor Tomasz Szczepański, Rector of the Medical University of Silesia in Katowice. And Professor Agnieszka Turska-Kała, Vice Rector for Science at the University of Silesia in Katowice. Dear panelists, would you mind if I sit next to you? And one more. Thank you so much. So before we start our panel, please let me introduce our distinguished panelists. His Magnificence Professor Tomasz Szczepański is a distinguished pediatric oncologist and hematologist with extensive experience in both clinical practice and academic leadership. Professor has dedicated his career to advancing the treatment of pediatric cancers and blood disorders. He has held numerous leadership positions at the Medical University of Silesia, culminating in his current role as a rector, where he is instrumental in promoting international cooperation, academic excellence, and research innovation at the university. As a rector of the Medical University of Silesia, he continues to champion the integration of international collaboration and mobility, helping to advance the global medical community while nurturing the next generation of medical professionals. Professor Larry Jackson, he's a respected scholar in the field of political science, currently teaching at Columbia University. He has an extensive background in American politics, public policy, and political theory. Professor Jackson has been part of Columbia University's faculty for many years, when he's known for his research on political institutions, governance, and democratic processes. In addition to his academic work, he is active in the public policy discussions and served as a consultant for various government agencies and think tanks. Am I right?
I think that might be a different Larry Jackson. So, I'm a philosopher. I'm trained as a philosopher. Do I do political philosophy?
Okay, so I think we're gonna use this knowledge during the panel. Professor Agnieszka Turska-Kawa, who is a political scientist, psychologist, vice rector for science at the University of Silesia in Katowice. She is a visiting professor at the Leufania University in Lunenburg. Is the pronunciation correct? In Germany. She is a member of the Polish Academy of Sciences, coordinator and researcher in numerous grants, including in both scientific and research, and social projects implemented in cooperation with local government units. Professor is the winner of the Ministry of Science and Higher Education Scholarship for Outstanding Young Scientists, and her field of interests are psychology of politics, particularly in the context of political behavior, motivations, and emotions ruling policies, and cognitive aspects of political choices. Currently, she works on the Conspirational Mind project, exploring why people follow conspiracy theories. And last but not least, Dr. Emre Erol, a distinguished historian specializing in Ottoman and modern Middle Eastern history. His academic career is marked by a deep engagement with the socio-political and economic transformation in the late Ottoman Empire and the early Turkish Republic. Dr. Erol has received numerous academic awards, am I right? And fellowships.
So far, so good.
Reflecting his contributions to the field of Ottoman and Middle Eastern studies. He's been a visiting scholar at prominent institutions in Europe and North America, where he collaborated on various international research projects. He is an active member of several academic organizations, including the Middle East Studies Association and Ottoman and Turkic Studies Association. Thank you. So let's begin by exploring the role of international mobility in shaping modern higher education. And my first question to you, to warm up the discussion, is how do you perceive the role of the international mobility in shaping modern higher education? It would be also very interesting to hear what has been the impact on your institutions or fields of study. So maybe in order?
Sure. I hope this works.
We can.
Now it works, I think. Thank you very much for the introduction. Also, one of the reasons why I'm here is for a very long time now I'm involved with a core curriculum system, both as a professor teaching in it and somebody who's directing it, just like my colleague Larry Jackson. Where I come from, Sabancı University, we have this core curriculum, a general education model, which I'm now happily learning that Silesia is also adopting. So that's one of the reasons why I've been contributing to this conference. Mobility is very important, whether or not you're focusing on a core curriculum system or academics in general. My answer, I'll keep it very short. There are 4 things to me that are very important when it comes to mobility for students, for professors, or for staff members. One of them is academic excellence. I mean, the name of the conference here is educational quality. For academic excellence, you need to see examples outside your own institutional ecosystem, especially the further you go away from your comfort zone, your cultural zone of routine, let's say, the newer examples you will see in terms of dealing with similar problems. So if you want academic excellence, you should encourage your students, professors, and staff to do more mobility, basically. And the second reason why I think mobility is a great idea is a cultural reason. Empathy, development of common international values is only possible, again, if you step outside your comfort zone, meet new academics from your field or other fields. This is my third time in Poland. This is my third time collaborating with my colleagues from University of Silesia. We've hosted a group of them at our university. Each time I come to Poland and this university, I admire the energy, I admire the change, I admire the new ideas that are being developed. I'm learning a lot, so I'm a living proof that mobility works in that sense. It also allows me to understand Poland and Polish culture better by experiencing it in person. Number three reason why I think mobility is a great idea is an administrative reason. I know some of you are not academics and they're administrators. I'm sure you know this, but international rankings are a measure, definitely not the measure, a measure to understand the quality of an institution of higher education. How do things like QS ranking or Times Higher Education ranking work? 1/4 of them comes from a score called internationalization. And that score automatically increases the more your staff, students, and academics move around within frameworks like Erasmus+, or with international frameworks like Larry and I developed over the course of the years between Columbia University and Sabancı University. So there's also an administrative aspect of increasing visibility, impact on rankings to have international mobility. Finally, the fourth reason why I love international mobility is recognition. When Poland is within that framework, when you apply to something like Erasmus+, ERC research grant, cost action projects within the EU framework, collaborate with somebody over oceans and then recognize your problems to be familiar, that is a recognition of that academics, that students, or that staff members' qualities and good work. I have seen, both as an administrator and an academic over the past 6-7 years, my university invested a lot into internationalization through mobility schemes, and everybody who partook in those schemes felt appreciated and happier in their own workplace. So there's also that aspect of recognition of your good work when you go to another university. Not only in that university, in your home institution, people are like, oh, this person is doing a good job because he or she was able to partake in that mobility. So, 4 things: academic, cultural, administrative, and recognition aspects. Thank you very much.
And it seems like quality over quantity here.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
Of course.
Dzień dobry. It is a great pleasure to be here in the lovely city of Silesia. This is Katowice in Silesia. This is my second time here. I was here for the Science Festival last year, and it is such an honor to be a participant in your year of being the City of Science here in Europe. So thank you for having me. I want to just note how fortunate you are also to have a rector who is a visionary and a true humanist. I was very impressed with his remarks earlier. And I also just want to thank my good friends here at the University of Silesia in Katowice for your hospitality and making me feel so welcome and so at home here in what is, for me, a foreign land. There is no task more important for us today in this age of conflict and crisis than to be able to find spaces where we can think freely together. And I think that this beautiful space is actually a perfect metaphor for that task, that thinking freely together means delving into the subterranean structures of the past and reimagining them, reanimating them. And I think that that is exactly what this incredible space does, and that is exactly what these kinds of dialogues are doing. So just a slight correction on my biography. I'm actually trained as a philosopher, and I think the most important part of my biography is that I am the director of Columbia College's core curriculum in New York City. This is a curriculum that has been around for 105 years. It was the first general education program in the world, and its creation also ushered in what I call the era of the modern liberal arts curriculum, which is distinct from the classical liberal arts curriculum that's associated with Petrarch and Cicero and others. As for the question of global education, there is no question that modern universities, modern research universities over the last 30, 40, 50 years have begun to define themselves very much in global terms. And that is really crucial to their identities. And that means, of course, drawing students from throughout the world, drawing scholars, professors, faculty, staff from around the world, and also facilitating exchanges and mobility programs of various kinds. This is very central to the identity of many, I would dare say most, higher educational institutions in the United States. I would argue, though, that this tendency towards cosmopolitanism is in fact much older, that the roots go much deeper in higher education, that for the last 100 years or so, higher education has been characterized by free exploration and discovery, and that knowledge, as my good friend Emre was saying yesterday, knowledge needs freedom and knowledge needs money. I would add community to that list as well. But knowledge does not like borders. Knowledge does not like walls. And so the ability to collaborate, to exchange ideas, to move freely between universities and countries is really crucial to the work that we are doing, both as scholars and as educators. I would also like to suggest that this is a crucial project for us politically as well. Many of you probably know that Immanuel Kant spoke about cosmopolitanism, and that Kant's notion of the world citizen was not the notion of someone who can move from place to place and feel perfectly comfortable and at home. Kant recognized that we need to have cultural, historical, community roots. That is who we are. But we also need to be able to inhabit the perspectives of people who are different from us, people who think differently, people who live differently, people who look different from us. These kinds of collaborations, these kinds of partnerships take us into different spaces where we can encounter the perspectives, experiences, and values of people who are very different from us. And if we are to try to propose a model of international, global, liberal, democratic structures in which we can think freely, speak freely, collaborate freely, govern ourselves, we need to have those kinds of exchanges and those kinds of partnerships. Finally, I'll just note some of the practical benefits of this kind of collaboration. So Emre and I have been working together very closely for the last 2 years, thinking through some of the various challenges that are associated with our core curriculum programs at our 2 universities. And I often say to people that of everyone in the world, no one understands me as well as Emre, because Emre knows the kinds of challenges and difficulties that I'm dealing with day to day in managing a large core curriculum at a major research university. So the ability to meet with others, to speak with others, to exchange very practical ideas and solutions, and to talk through challenges is also a crucial part of this. So the intellectual component, the political democratic component, and the practical component are all crucial to these partners. And I'll just say, the last point that I'll make here is that actually Emre and I met because of colleagues here at the University of Silesia in Katowice that I had been working with for a couple of years, who then introduced the two of us. So these networks also will grow. They will draw other people in. And through that, we can, I think, exchange ideas, exchange practices, and really come up with creative solutions to the challenges that we're all facing in all of our contexts. Thank you.
Professor Jackson, you should definitely make this consultation. So if I predict just your future, I would be incredibly happy.
Good afternoon. Following this question, I think that we can create a separate panel only about the role of mobility in shaping modern higher education. I can't even say that this is an important thing for the modern education, but I can't imagine modern higher education without mobility. And science for me is a function of cooperation, of interaction between people, not online, as it was mentioned by Richard Koziołek, the rector of the University of Silesia at the beginning of this ceremony, but this is a crucial thing for science, and science is not happening in one place, especially in our rooms and in one university. This is the interaction, and if we are talking about no borders now, because this is the opportunity of the current world, we have to use it. And of course, I agree with all what you said, and I don't want to repeat it, but I would like to encourage you to look at this topic from two perspectives. On the one side, we have the individual perspective of one researcher, and then we can say that that mobility is a crucial thing for self-development. And if you want to exchange your ideas, if you want to develop your own research, if you want to exchange thoughts, to look for some new ideas actually and consult them, because this is always the process of getting results, you have to go out from your university. So this is totally out of discussion. Of course, on the other side, this is a cultural thing, as you said, that we are open to other languages, we are open to other values. We have to handle them because sometimes it is difficult for some parts of the world. So individual perspective on one side, but on the other side, if we take care of the self-development of the individual researchers, we are taking care of the development of the whole university, because this is the transfer of knowledge, this is the transfer of skills, and they are coming back to our university with some new ideas, and this is spread. They don't keep it for themselves and don't share it. No, it's the opposite situation. They are sharing it with the projects, during projects, inviting other scholars for cooperations. And I think this is, psychologically speaking, this is the part of inner motivation. So we are trying to encourage others to go and showing them some benefits of mobility. And sharing my own experience, sometimes when I'm going abroad for teaching, for researching, many of my friends, many from outside university, many of members of my family say that, okay, you will be very exhausting because you travel a lot, you have to go 12 hours one way, and after 2 days you are coming back. And actually it's not true, because I'm coming back full of energy with new ideas, and I have no time even to feel tired, because I want to spread it and to share it with my colleagues. So I see only benefits, and I think we have to emphasize that at our universities. Thank you.
I totally share this point of view, especially I came back in the middle of this night from other country, full of energy to be here and to lead this wonderful discussion. And yes, this kind of thoughts should be spread over the people who needs this trigger to do that. Thank you. You're magnificent.
Well, what shall I say as humble medical person after listening to such general and very, very true statements? Let's say I will try to relate it into, let's say, our professional development, because especially in medicine, I think it's important to exchange different treatment aspects, but also different research activities. And it was always a very, very strong point to induce mobility. Even in the communistic time in Poland, there was a saying, you won't become top cardiologist if you won't spend 1 year in the United States. So that was had long tradition. Of course, mobility has also some disadvantages, which I believe is brain drainage. There are a lot of Polish people abroad. We are proud of them, but unfortunately we lose them in our country. So fortunately this happens more rarely, but it still happens, and this is one of few disadvantages. But of course advantages are much better also in terms of education. I remember some years ago they were introducing in Western Europe this simulation teaching methods. And I remember we were really enthusiastic about that, and we were able to transfer and build first simulation center in 1 year. And after that, this simulation teaching was spread all over Poland, and now it's a kind of a standard, and probably in the next few years we will have practical examination in the middle of the medical studies through this simulation technology. Of course, traveling inspires, and that's for sure. And as you already said, it gives you much broader perspective. If you are sitting in your country, you have nice perspective, But when you come to country of different structure, of different philosophy, you on one hand start to be critical, on the other hand you're even more proud of your own country, and it always gives you much broader perspective. And of course through this collaboration we build teams, international teams, to apply together for activities, for grants, and this is also added value of the mobility. So sadly, I should say that we have problems with especially mobility of older already medical doctors, because they say getting abroad gives us less money than staying at home. But of course, it's not only money that matters, and I think this is especially important that also in qualification for professorship, this remains as one of the important points, and it should be also this should remain, and we hope that also in advancing the people, this international mobility will still remain in the top position.
Thank you, Professor. You actually perfectly move on to the next issue that we are going to talk about the barriers of the international mobility of students, of staff, both within institution and globally. So what do you recognize as the main barriers for the international mobility?
I'll be very specific based on my experience. My university is now in its 25th year. It's a young university. It is very energetic, just like here. And we want to do a lot of research, a lot of high quality education and social impact all at the same time. So any given faculty member feels an enormous performance pressure. And within that pressure, they sometimes feel like they don't have time for an Erasmus Plus or to start an initiative with somebody from abroad. Now, it's up to the administrators to understand that and give them some space. Otherwise, day-to-day routines will take over. So whoever is doing the admin work of evaluating people here as deans or vice deans and rectors, that should be something you need to be careful at that stage. You need to encourage people to do these things, and you need to remember that this requires time to communicate with another institution, to go there, to come back, to write a report about it, and maybe there's a good idea. You should have your ears open and be, open to the message coming from that experience. This is easier said than done, but if you start developing that culture, then it takes off. But making it take off is not easy, because I know as academics it is customary to say that we're busy. So you need to challenge that culture and create some space for mobility.
Thank you.
That last comment from Emre was directed entirely at me. I'm way behind deadline on a report that I owe him that comes out of our collaboration. So I led with a little bit of Kantian idealism earlier in talking about cosmopolitanism. I'm going to now introduce some crass materialism and say that, of course, two of the main obstacles are, as my colleague has noted, time and money, and that these are major barriers. And the question of time, I think Emre has very nicely touched on all of the challenges that are there. I think the question of money is really tied to questions of priorities in institutional culture. One of the things that I think is really exciting for me, as someone from the other side of the Atlantic coming here and seeing the kinds of discussions that are taking place, is that there really is a culture of collaboration at universities throughout Europe that I think is not there to the same extent in the United States. We tend to be a little more isolated out there in North America. And so I think that we often are faced with the challenge of trying to convince our institutions that these kinds of collaborations, projects, and programs are of great importance to our institutions, particularly if the collaboration project or program is not oriented around research, which is what Emre was talking about a little bit before. But I think one of the things that's really exciting about this Congress is that this is a Congress that's focusing very much on teaching as well. So developing those sorts of collaborative projects, not only around research, but also around teaching is crucial. And I think convincing our universities that there is a great value to us exploring the kinds of practices that are being used in other countries is imperative for us. There is, I think, virtually no culture in the United States of staff mobility. So that's a piece that I find particularly intriguing. So thinking about that and the value of giving staff that sort of reward and also giving them the opportunity to see how things are working in different contexts, I think is very valuable because, as you were noting earlier, we bring those ideas and practices back to our home institutions and we begin to spread those ideas where we are working. I'll just say that another pressure that I see at the student level for us at Columbia University is that our students are very academically minded. They have a lot of academic requirements. They have a very rigorous curriculum that they need to complete in order to graduate. And so often the idea of traveling abroad is put at the bottom of their list of priorities. Many of our students actually use the summers in order to travel abroad, which is great, but it's often more of a financial burden for students than traveling abroad during the academic year. So again, we as educators really need to prioritize this and to convince our students that learning takes place not only in the classroom, but out in the world. And that the encounter with other cultures, with other people, those encounters that make us self-critical and fallible, but also proud of who we are crucial to learning and crucial to the kind of education that we want our students to have in the 21st century.
Thank you. We are from Poland, so probably barriers will be more specific for our environment. Adding to something to my colleagues, I would like to say about three main barriers. The first one is a change of mind, because academia in Poland has changed recent years, actually 100%. 20 years ago, we emphasized teaching. I remember when I started my PhD dissertation, it was only about teaching. My colleagues were teaching for 10 hours per day, 5 and sometimes 7 days per week. Not only at the University of Silesia, but also in many private, smaller universities in the surroundings. So no time for research, no time for increasing your research skills, no time for self-development, because you are too exhausted after teaching, because you have to prepare yourself to this and for students. So one day when it started to change more and more, for many people it was too late, actually, for increase their skills, and then we have a gap between researchers who were focused on 10, 15 years on teaching, and then people who came to academia and started with a great power on mobility, on researching in cooperation with people from abroad. So a change of mind is our, actually most important thing now from psychological perspective, because you have to motivate, you have to show how intermentoring is important, for example, between people who are more and less experienced in the research. The second thing is, and this is more specific for humanistic and social sciences fields, I mean, we are overloaded with teaching. So if you are overloaded during the semester, it is very difficult to go abroad, for example, for 1 week. Because someone should take your teaching, you should be replaced, easily speaking. So it is important to organize this academic task. And when you have more hours than you can take on you during the week, it is sometimes impossible. And the third thing that I observe from my perspective, it's more about some cultural threats. Because I still hear some threats like, okay, I don't know if I can handle this. I have some I still not aware about my English skills. I think that I don't handle some cultural differences between our countries. And we have to find with this, we have to encourage especially younger researchers to go abroad. And also in this box, we have to mention about some threats about living families, kids here, especially if you have, if this is important for women, probably most, and if you have younger kids, it is not so easy to leave them for a month, for half a year, even for a week sometimes. You have to have a great support to go there, but it's not so obvious. Of course, we are trying to support those people if we can see the will to go abroad. And we have many projects, for example, from NAVA that think support you can take kids and organize some accommodation for them and even schools, but it's still not very easy. Thank you.
So we need to change our mindsets on lots of levels. Thank you.
Just adding on top what you said, I think at the moment the main barrier is to crossing the barrier of the own comfort. It's much easier during the studies because at that time you are building your, let's say, life and you are really curious of the world. And this aspect, I think it's very important. But when you are settled down with family, with kids, etc., it's much more difficult to move, especially for long-term mobility. On the other hand, there are many short-term mobilities which can even take a few days. And this is, I think, extremely important, and sometimes it's very difficult to find support for such mobilities. But the meeting of the professionals, for instance, in your own field, they give you much more power than the best Zoom meeting. Because, of course, you discuss, usually these are research meetings, but after you have a dinner, during the dinner you discuss all the different aspects, you make friends, and afterwards, if there is any international activity, those friends write to you, well, we have idea, maybe not the brilliant, but would you mind to join that project? And this is how it works. And through these links, you can develop into better shape. So I think with better situation in Poland year by year, this problem of crossing your own comfort, I think, would even increase. This is why I was emphasizing in my previous talk that you need also to have some mechanisms to stimulate this mobility. Otherwise, people, well, why should I leave my comfortable place?
Thank you. We can see here that the length and the structure of mobility programs can significantly vary depending on the goals and targets. So if you could suggest the mobility program based on the length for the students, for the PhD candidates, and for staff, which kind of program would be most suitable for them, depending on the length on the program?
Well, I think the answer to that really depends on the target demography. If you're talking about students, we at my university, Sabancı University, we always encourage them to do Erasmus at undergraduate or graduate level. And we're very proud to say that in Turkey, we're ranking usually top 1 or 2 in terms of percentage and the absolute number of students who undertake mobility. But we also have special mobility agreements with some US universities, by the way, across the Atlantic, and some Asian universities. Again, we have a dedicated unit though. It's called International Relations Office. One of their aims is to increase mobility for everyone. So this needs to be at the strategy level a priority. And then for each demography, you have different strategies. For students, it's easy for them to say, come to this university if we have an agreement, because the credits that they will hear will be transferred to their diplomas. When it comes to the matter of staff mobility, especially female scholars with families and kids, they need special assistance. We have some schemes for that. We can discuss this in the break. But not only them, for instance, academics who need accessibility assistance is also, my university is quite famous for that. We have a lot of academics with accessibility issues who need particular physical infrastructure to be present in the institution that they're going to go. And when we're receiving them, we're very careful about that as well. So those are all factors, I mean, depending on how you do. At Sabancı University, I have done Erasmus Plus 4 times. When I'm doing that, there's replacement teaching. A colleague of mine takes over, or I'm allowed to teach online only for the duration of the mobility. And there are other ways to make up for that. It's just institutional culture. It shouldn't be the reason. I mean, it's such a wonderful framework, this Erasmus Plus thing. If it's the reason, you need to find a way around it. And for the staff, the same goes true. If you don't have the culture, it feels like it doesn't make sense to send, let's say, a staff member from the faculty for a mobility. But if you have the culture, it helps a lot. Anybody, upper level, middle level, low level, from a secretary to a vice president's consultant, going through mobility helped us a lot, because they went to a place, let's say to Spain, they came back and they said, hey, over there they have a similar problem, but this is what they're doing and this is a good idea, and then we've adopted it. So again, there needs to be at the strategic level up there a vision to help different demographies and make it easier for them to have mobility. Otherwise, it's just at the talking level. You can take action for that. At least that's our institutional experience.
Thank you.
I think that my own experience has been very consistent with that, and I'll just add to that that our institutions really must also ensure that anyone that we welcome, anyone that we are hosting, feels comfortable, feels welcome there, has places to go, events to participate in, opportunities to meet with colleagues. One of the challenges that I've sometimes observed at American universities when we have hosted people from abroad is that they often feel very isolated. In New York City, where Columbia University is located, we don't have a lot of space, so it can be very difficult for us to provide the kind of space that visiting scholars or students might need in order to continue with their research. So that's a challenge for us. But even if we are able to provide office space for them or a place where they really feel like they belong in the department, they may not have that many opportunities to connect with colleagues at the university. And quite honestly, there's a real danger of loneliness that comes with that. So being very mindful of that and thinking about ways in which we can actively integrate anyone who is visiting our campus into the kinds of programs and day-to-day activities and departmental cultures that we have on our campuses is crucial for these kinds of programs. I will just say personally, I have become very interested in recent years in shorter-term programs. I think because I have 2 small children, it's very hard for me to go away for any great length of time. So everything you said resonated with me as well about some of the challenges that go along with visiting other universities. But I think that the short-term programs are wonderful because they also do give us opportunities to see that things might be done differently in other places and to have some sense of what is going on in other contexts, other cultures, other universities, without having to commit to the entire semester or to the entire year. And I think that those sorts of programs can be quite beneficial.
It's difficult to say which program is the most important because based on that, it's crucially on your expectations. But of course, Erasmus Plus is very popular as well in Poland for researchers and for students as well. On the other side, I would like to mention Nava Becker program because this is also important for longer stays between 3 and 24 months. And there is also the possibility for taking your kids, family, and accommodation for them. And for example, at our university, we have a Research Excellence Initiative, and so far we organized 3 editions in international mobility. The minimum period for going abroad to the other university is 2 months, so 60 days, and we pay for the accommodation and all other activities that you have to include doing your research. But I would like to agree with you that it's based on the culture. And for example, in Leuphana University, when I am a visiting professor this year, They have a program for families. So from the beginning, I was asked if I want to take my kids, family, and they would like to share some extra activities for kids, school, and other possibilities, just to keep me there for longer, not going back and forth, because of course they understand that this could be a problem for researchers. Thank you.
Well, what to add? We really benefit from Erasmus Plus programs, and this is really very beneficiary. Especially, we see more competition within students and PhD students. The staff activity could be better. And of course, this is also important, and I really appreciate the work of our Student Career Office to take care that these things are done. And I think the most important task is, again, to stimulate mobility. Because if you have in your mind that you should go abroad to get experience, that will stimulate looking for different sources of support. I mean, I started my experience with science using very strange Rotary International Ambassadorial Scholarship, which was, well, pretty nice. I could stay in the Erasmus University in the Netherlands doing some research, and you have such also programs everywhere, also with charity foundations, but we also have Polish foundations that could support. But I believe at the moment the greatest task is stimulate people, especially the staff. You should go abroad to learn something yourself and to bring it back to Poland.
Thank you. So with those thoughts, let's move to the concretes. Could you share any successful mobility programs that could serve as a models for others?
I can share one example, which is again relevant for this context. Sabancı University is in its 25th year. Its core curriculum is in its 25th year. So somewhere down the line, 2.5 years ago, as a director of the core curriculum, I had this vision of having this self-evaluation. And my thinking was, if we sit together as Sabancı University academics and students and staff and talk about what we can do, it won't be enough. We need somebody else from the outside, people who are doing this in another context, looking at us within a structural way, and then give us peer review, basically, a feedback. And again, thanks to this conference and setting, I was able to reach to Larry in Columbia University, because Columbia University is one of the role models for Sabancı University, if not the role model for having a core curriculum. And I've contacted colleagues over Columbia, including Larry and Mark from History program, and they were kind enough to visit us for an external review only of the core program. And I know you must know about this because within the European framework, there are many ways to do self-evaluations. I know this doesn't sound like a mobility, but next thing that happened was after the self-evaluation, we've discovered there are a lot of commonalities between our institutions, and we decided to start a new initiative in which from each institution every year, approximately 10-12 academics would come together on our campus location in Western Anatolia. And there should be a team around which we discuss if the core curriculum, its teaching methods, its content, the way it is executed is doing its best in terms of that topic. For instance, impact of AI in higher education, age of perma-crisis and wars and displacement and migration and core curriculum, and so on and so forth. And we actually executed our first activity this summer, and it already ticks all the boxes of academic, cultural, administration, and recognition sites on my part, and this mobility was a learning moment. And it really is not only the case for me, whoever partook in that kind of mobility that we've made up is now planning to amend their courses, make changes, and there's this organic thing. When people come together, not everybody does that, but if you do it frequently enough, there are these connections that are building up. So two people meet each other from both sides of the Atlantic, let's say, and then they grow into redesigning their physics, chemistry, or biology course in a particular way. And that is the result of that interaction. So my good example is bilateral agreements. We are lucky, Turkey is a candidate country, Poland is a member country, we can use Erasmus+. But outside that, approaching your colleagues in another institution that does something similar and trying to build up bilateral agreements, that's also a good way of doing it, I think.
Yes, I can confirm that because I used once this kind of program with United States. So yeah, so it's highly recommended. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to begin by building a bit on what Emery has said already about our partnership between Columbia University's core curriculum and Sabancı University's core curriculum, and just say that when my colleague Mark van der Meerup and I went to Sabancı last summer to assess the program, the core curriculum at Sabancı, we ended up drafting a report where I jokingly said you could replace Sabancı with Columbia, just about every reference. Because I found that this was, I think Fernando Pessoa, the Portuguese poet, once said that wherever you travel, you find yourself. And that was exactly what came out of this project, that I learned so much also about what we were doing at Columbia and what we might do differently. I also found that the challenges that Sabancı was facing, which again are very similar to the challenges that we are facing at Columbia University, really empowered us to propose new solutions, new innovations, new ideas at Columbia, which we're carrying out right now, and also to confidently give voice to a full-throated defense of the kind of liberal arts education that Sabancı has been mounting quite courageously and quite innovatively in Turkey for the last 25 years, and which we have been trying to do at Columbia for the last 105 years. So this has been a very successful partnership. The retreat idea, which came out of this, which we ran a pilot of, as Emre said, just a couple of months ago in Turkey, it was really important for us to understand that project as having an international component to it, of course, but also being very grounded in the culture and the history of Turkey. So this retreat actually happened in a region of Turkey that was at one time a real center of Hellenic culture. It is still an area that is on a path of migration from the Middle East and North Africa to Europe. And so it was really important for us to bring that history and some of those crucial, pressing current issues into our discussions and think about how some of those problems relate to what we're doing day to day in the classroom to address things like polarization, or to help our students develop a consciousness of history and the ways in which some of our most pressing problems today are rooted in a very long history that many people might have forgotten or might seem very distant to people. So another key component in these kinds of partnerships is not simply retreating into a kind of empty cosmopolitanism, but to affirm a cosmopolitanism that also is very rooted in the cultures and the histories of the places that are partnering. Along those lines, I'll just mention one other program that we've had for some time now at Columbia, and this is a student-based program. We have 5 courses in Columbia's core curriculum. One of them, which has been around since 1947, is called Art Humanities, and it develops students' visual literacies by having them engage with works of art. Most of those works of art are related to collections, to holdings that are available to us in New York City, at the Metropolitan Museum of Art or the Museum of Modern Art, for instance. We have developed analogous versions of that course in Berlin and Paris, which also bring in students from another one of our courses called Music Humanities, so that they are taking both courses simultaneously. And they are engaging with the art collections that are in Berlin and Paris, and also viewing live performances of music in both of those cities as well. So again, the success of that program is grounded very much in recognizing the local culture and the kinds of cultural and historical roots that those places offer.
Actually, the offer in Poland at our university and in Europe as well is wide, and the list is very long. If we are talking about concrete, I already mentioned a few programs that are available for us. But I would like to add that I always encourage my colleagues to find programs in which we can combine teaching and researching. Because then when you are going abroad and you can fight with all of those obstacles that we mentioned before, you can be totally immersed in the other culture, culture of the university, culture of the country, and then you can learn a lot. You can come with new experiences for teaching, for your colleagues, for the university as a whole. And this is the total experience for me. So those projects, well, it doesn't matter if they are from Poland or from the European Union, are most important for me and the most crucial for the university. I'm also trying to encourage my colleagues to change the place of their trips, yes, because if you have good relationships in one university with your colleagues, it's great. But it's about finding something new. It's about self-development. It's about creating new relationships for future cooperation and future projects. So always when I'm getting the same application for the same university for the 5th time, I'm calling and say, okay, maybe we can find something else, and then self-development will be much, much deeper. And one more thing, when we are talking about teaching, we are trying to, I can't say force, but encourage students by obligatory courses abroad, even short terms. But then we think that at this level of their career, they have more time and less obstacles to go abroad, even for 1 month, for 2 months, or the whole semester. So it works so far, and they are coming back with positive experiences for the other students.
On top of what was said, I should say that I always admired organization of summer schools, international summer schools. We used to have such a collaboration with Germany and France, and that was a great experience both for students attending this summer school, but also for teachers. And these are, well, usually not longer than 2 weeks schools. But they give lots of integration, they give lots of stimulation. Even when you compare the way the students are asking or not asking questions to the lecturer, because there is a different culture. I mean, in Poland it was frequently like that, well, better don't ask the question because you can have trouble. While we looked at our colleagues from Western Europe, they were really killing the lecturers with questions. So I think we should find, and actually this is based on bilateral, usually cooperations, but these are really very good experiences, increasing the integration, but also improving our educational skills.
Thank you so much. I can realize that we had already 2 hours long seat, so maybe it's a time to move our discussion to more engaging part. We prepared some more tailored questions addressing specific areas of research and interests of our guests. So in this case, in this part of the discussion panel, if any one of you would like to ask our panelists the questions regarding their answers, please feel free to do that. I need to just make sure if we have enough microphones. Perfect. Yeah, we can share. If there's no questions yet, I would like to move into this psychological part of the motivation to the international mobility. And Professor Agnieszka Turska-Kawa, for early career academics, international experience is often a key factor in professional growth. So how does international mobility, particularly for this part of group for early career academic staff, impact their professional development?
Oh, it's also for a separate panel question. But we can talk about it also through 2 different perspectives. On the one side, about skills, about some psychological resilience, because when you can fight and handle with this going abroad trip organizational things, you are bordering some, you are fighting with some obstacles in you as well. So, for example, stress resilience, for example, opening to other culture, values, languages, for example, the will for open discussions, sharing with your experiences from your own surrounding, from your own university, and also handling with the other cultures, for example, professional systems of organization at other universities. So this is the part of, let's say, flexibility. And I see that this is very important, especially for young researchers, because when you feel it at the beginning of your career, you are out of stress planning something deeper, planning something longer, because you are not afraid of this, and you are aware how it is important in your career. On the other side, of course, transfer of knowledge, sharing your methodologies, skills, and improving your just knowledge, let's say, and coming with this to your own university. So professional knowledge and professional resilience for those trips.
Thank you. And I also want to connect this issue with the cultural differences, organizational cultural differences. Based on your experience, what are the most significant differences in organizational cultures? And how do these differences impact the functioning and career growth of early career researchers working within different academic systems?
I find many differences between our organizational systems, and sometimes it is a crucial problem for the researchers and for us as administration staff. First, in Poland, mostly we don't work on contracts. We work on permanent contracts. So this is very difficult for the university as the whole, especially for leaders, to motivate, to stimulate, as rector said. And for the colleagues, it is safer, yes, because you can plan with the longer perspective, and you can take a break, you can take a brief. It's just a deeper sense of security. But on the other side, it is difficult to permanently motivate people to work, to go abroad, to think always about their self-development. For example, if you are working on the contract, I feel that this is actually the most important motivation for you. So if you can get the perspective of the contract, for example, 5-6 years, you know that this is your perspective, and you have to find some activities like projects, like cooperation, like going abroad, like mobility, like finding some teaching experience abroad, and publications, of course, in this shorter perspective. On the other side, if you don't have this perspective, we have to emphasize more psychological incentives. The other thing is, what I find as a great difference is task-oriented culture. And this is what I love abroad when I work in the different teams, like in Slovenia, like in US, Hungary, Germany now. When we are planning something, we are talking about tasks, we are talking about deadlines, but those deadlines are in a longer perspective. So, for example, if you want to submit the projects, the perspective is 1 year or 2 years. So we have time to work on this, but we have some steps to fulfill. I have the impression that we are the culture of rush. So we are doing something in a 1 month perspective, in 2 months, in half a year. It's not good for research, it's not good for self-development, and it's not good for the whole university and the whole academia as well. So this is something that I find as a great difference, and I would like to come back one day with this cultural thing and spread it among my colleagues. And the third thing, culture of cooperation. And I miss it in Poland, especially in humanities and social sciences. Of course, we can find it more and more, it's more and more popular, but still, for example, when I am a member of a habilitation commission, I can hear, okay, this is a very good person, but he writes publications only in big teams. And then I am trying to explain that it's not so easy to find a compromise, to fight with others sometimes. When we are preparing some research in 5, 6 team members teams, sometimes it's easier to find it individually because you have no one around you to check you, to comment. And of course, I can't wait now what is more and less important, but from self-development perspective, for me, we have to work in teams. Actually, we mentioned a lot of reasons for this, like exchanging and transfer knowledge and skills.
Thank you, Professor. Are there any questions at this point? We have one question from the audience.
Thank you so much for being here. My name is Renee. I'm a PhD student here at the University of Silesia, but I am from the United States. So the question I wanted to ask was about this term mobility. And so far, I've heard you speak almost exclusively about international mobility. And this is a question I would bring up when I was working back in the United States a lot, and I think it's maybe a little bit more relevant there due to the size of the United States, but we sometimes forget about mobility nationally. And sometimes, particularly in my experience in the US, I would have students from the Indiana University, I would have students come back from studying abroad, and they would have this amazing awareness on an international front, but they had no idea what life was like an hour down the road. And so I realize there's a number of commonalities of things, but I was just wondering if you could comment, share any thoughts you have on mobility from that perspective, programs that you might have, ideas, suggestions, things like that. Thank you.
I'll very briefly address that. That's a huge issue in Turkey. We have two types of universities. One of them is one group is state-funded universities. The other group is foundation universities. My university belongs to the second group. Much like Stanford University in the US, it has to be non-profit. It needs to be running over a particular endowment and its own tuitions and patents and whatnot. So in these two-tier system, we have that internal mobility problem. It feels like there are two different worlds. You can easily see some ideological polarization between the two worlds as well, and the academic cultures are entirely different. For instance, in most of our state universities, not all of them, but if you're not in a big metropolitan area, it is usually the case that state-funded universities are very introspective, and they don't like mobility. Language of instruction is always Turkish, and there's, if you pardon the expression, a lot of cultural inbreeding happening. On the other hand, universities that are very internationally connected can overlook at the national level issues and problems. So in 1999, when my university was being established, that was something that we consciously wanted to fight with. So we have our own incentives of mobility and collaboration platforms with all universities in Turkey. Reform in Education initiative is a Sabancı University funded initiative that brings together not only universities but high schools annually, for instance. And also within our core curriculum, we have a course which is called Civic Involvement Project. The thinking is very simple. Academics in any university is kind of in their ivory tower. They're isolated sometimes from the larger society. Knowledge is power. You're imbued with that power with the tax money sacrifices that create the universities, basically. So you need to give back to the society that you're in and to the world at large. So our staff, students, and academics need to partake in that core curriculum CIP project. For students, it's mandatory. For staff and academics, it's encouraged, and it's a part of their performance evaluation. If they do it, they can also do it voluntarily, which is working with NGOs, going to different parts of Turkey or world, especially the Near East and Middle East and Eastern Mediterranean region, to partake in activities, because we think that's a problem. Turkey is not as big as US, but it's quite big. And just like US, one town to the other, one university to the other, it could be 180 degrees of a different ecosystem. We're very aware of that. And I think national isolation is a problem in higher education in many countries. If you're a smaller country like Netherlands, I worked in the Netherlands for 8 years, it doesn't exist that much, but I know it exists in the US and in Turkey. It's a very good point that needs to be addressed in my humble opinion.
Yeah, Renee, thank you so much for bringing that up, and it's nice to see you again. I'll just say that the largest divide in the United States today is what we call the credential divide. 38% of Americans have college degrees, 62% of Americans do not have college degrees. That not only aligns with a difference in politics, and it is contributing to the growing tension and polarization that we're seeing in the United States today. It also maps onto major differences in life expectancy and quality of life. If you do not have a college degree in the United States, your life expectancy is 2 years shorter. You are more likely to suffer from depression, obesity, diabetes, heart disease, to die by suicide, to have any number of health conditions, drug addiction, alcoholism, and on and on and on. So many of us believe that this is actually the most crucial challenge for us in the United States today, to find a way to bridge this credential divide. And we are focusing much more on these kinds of projects and programs, like the Civic Involvement Project that Sabancia has. This is one of the ideas that I've taken back to Columbia. We're launching a fellowship now for students, which is called Practices in Community Building, which is bringing together a group of students to think about ways that we can work on building a community not only on our campus, which if you've been following the news, you know it's been very polarized in the last year because of the war in Gaza, but there's also a real separation between Columbia's campus and the Harlem neighborhood, which is around us, which historically has been a Black neighborhood in New York City. So we're hoping that these kinds of projects that are very service-oriented give students an opportunity to go out into the communities, not so they can be saviors, not so they can go and enlighten the benighted masses, but so that they can go and they can develop some of those skills of self-criticism and those characterological traits of humility, which I see coming out of this program in Sabancia.
In Poland, you have also many possibilities for national mobility for students. Most program also for PhD students. I'm the example of this. When I was preparing my PhD, still exists Academy of Artes Liberales. I was a member of this, even if I was preparing my dissertation at our university. I had the opportunity, taking part in this program, I had the opportunity to have the second or even the third supervisor from different disciplines because it was written in interdisciplinary field. And one was from Warsaw, one was from Poznań. And it meant that I had to travel a lot to find some compromises between the three of them. And at the end, I had teaching at 5 universities. I met the culture there, and even we talk a lot about the differences between culture values abroad, but there are still some differences in Poland, yes, so between some regions, between the cultural things at universities. So it's good maybe from the beginning to face with those problems and then go a step forward.
Thank you. Thank you for this answer. Any other questions from the audience? We have one question. One more question.
Hello, my name is Alexander Parmi. I'm from the Office of the Vice Rector for Student Affairs and Quality of Learning and Teaching of the University of Warsaw. And I was wondering, we face challenges such as integrating the foreign students to Polish culture. It was mentioned a few times that students, especially coming from abroad of Europe, face these challenges. We created an institution called Welcome Point, where the students can come. It's the first area where they can learn about the campus, where to go, etc. What is USOS and why is it important, where you have all the grades, etc. And I was wondering, what are the challenges that you face in regards to foreign students, and how do you make them feel at home? How do you make them feel part of the academia? And did you find any solutions to these problems?
Thank you so much for that. Yes, I think that that's a crucial question, and nice to hear from you also. University of Warsaw is another university that we work closely with in Columbia's core curriculum. I think what has worked best for us with international students is just getting them integrated as quickly as possible into the academic, extracurricular, co-curricular, social lives of our campus. So that means orientations, that means getting students connected with clubs, that means neighborhood tours, giving students opportunities to go out to restaurants. This is another crucial part of what we do in some of our classes as well. In our core curriculum, we also have a co-curricular dimension where we're taking students out to museums, to concerts, performances, other events that are happening in New York City. So I think a big part of that acclimation, that orientation, is also just giving students a sense of where they might be able to go on their own if they want to explore the culture. Take them to the places where the culture is celebrated, take them to the concert halls, to the art museums, so that they develop some familiarity with it and they can also go out and they can explore on their own and get to know those places fairly well.
I also have been in Warsaw University. It's an amazing place. The city is also amazing. So Sabancı University has approximately 14% international students undergraduate, about 30-35% graduate, and the total amount, all of our student bodies, around 20%. So it's a very important issue for us. And we have students coming from all over the place: Europe, Africa, Near East, Middle East. I'll touch upon another aspect of this. If you are not careful with the international students' experiences, especially if in their first year, you would feel like you're doing everything you needed to do. In other words, if you design these incentives as a bureaucrat and academic, thinking that this is ideal, but not ask their experiences and opinions, you'll run into trouble. We did. We felt like we have the international days, we have the activities to familiarize them with the culture in Turkey and so on and so forth. We felt it worked all perfectly. Towards the middle of our experience, like 12th, 13th year, we started to discover that some of our international students had huge problems coming from their own cohort. Unfortunately, I'm sad to say there was sometimes such a big level of cultural difference. There were acts of students developing some racist attitudes or some students not feeling at home. And then we learned to be very careful about that. And now I'm proud to say that we're good at what we're doing, but a life lesson to me that initially we were not careful about it. So organizing activities alone is not good enough. You have to have peers. So in other words, people who are from the cohort of international students, and you have to have an organic connection with them. You need to kind of keep the pulse of what's happening. Because reputation is built very slowly, but it's ruined very quickly. Especially if you're an international university, you have to be careful about that. It's easier said than done. I think Columbia is doing a great job. I have learned a lot from the ways Columbia deals with an enormous variety of students. Probably your percentage is much, much higher than us, but it's our university's aim that we become more internationalized. That doesn't happen on paper. You need to try and fail to accommodate people from different cultures. It's not easy, especially in a setting where the country at large or maybe the university is not previously used to it. That's at least my 2 cents on the issue.
So you've touched a very important point about how culture influence the appearance to the international mobility. Do you have any experience on that? How different cultures, being in the different cultures, influence the appearance to the international mobility? How people from different cultures see this kind of activity is the matter that some people from specific cultures are more encouraged to do that, other less? How do you see this issue?
Since I have the microphone, I'll very quickly answer this. I think there's what scientists might call a selection bias here, because usually if a person ends up at a university, be it students, staff, or scholars, they are curious people by nature. They want to learn about new things. So there's a selection bias, like the students we have and the staff we have coming across different cultures are almost always willing to partake mobility. But where they want to go could change between different student or scholar cultures. Some people feel this culture is way outside my comfort zone, I'll not end up in this country or that country, so that happens. But we always try to encourage them to break those barriers. But to be honest with you, maybe, again, this is selection bias, I feel like there's a strong culture of going abroad, bringing something back in. I don't know how it works in Poland. In Turkey, if you are always in the same university, it's a bad thing culturally. Like, you have to have your undergraduate in one university, master's in another one, have some outside Turkey experiences. If you only have your undergraduate, MA, and PhD at the same university, it's kind of a big no-no. And the students that we receive are usually like that too, because they know our institution to be an institution like that. I don't know if it answers this, but yeah. Anyone else?
It's also it's bad in Poland, as you said, but I think that we have now this opportunity to change it, yes, because we can go abroad, we have many opportunities following some programs, getting projects, actually getting funds for this. 10, 15 years ago, for many people, it was not available. So now we see this difference that we have to change the cultural and organizational surrounding, but this is the recent change.
Thank you. And I would like to ask also Professor Szczepański about, because you represent a very specific medical area, what is students' appearance, medical students' appearance to the international mobility?
Mainly, I think it's research, because that's the first stimulus, and the second is also gaining clinical practice, because that's always inspiring to come to, let's say, big center, to see how it works in big center with much more patients, etc., etc. So this is what really makes this mobility. And as I mentioned before, big cardio centers in the United States were always a kind of example that Polish cardiology institutes were built after them, but it's for many different specialties. It works like that. And also for more basic research, I mean, new technologies develop in many different places. So if you want to take this technology, transfer this technology to Poland, you need first to learn. It's not enough to buy a machine, but also you need to gain some experience. So this is, I think, these are very practical points, especially for PhD students. If you want them to introduce new research methods, you send them to good center to learn and come back and to perform experiments in Poland. So this it's quite attractive, and we hope this will continue like that.
Okay, thank you. So this is actually about the people, talking about the students, but how the international mobility contribute to the development of the innovative medical practices and also research itself.
Well, it's a kind of a transfer, because still, even in the past we were going abroad, but nowadays we have places where people can come and also we can teach the others how to do the things. So this is very important, because somehow we pay back what we received in the times where Polish medicine was still under development. Yeah, this I think it's. We are very practical as medical people, so if you want to see something new, we just come, we learn and come back home, and this usually works. And if somebody is interested to obtain some training or they are heartily welcome to Poland.
Thank you. Any questions at this point? To all of the panelists. All right, no questions. So I think we are going to the end of our panel. So last but not least, what benefits should be promoted among academic students and staff, and what tools, especially tools, should be used within this area to boost international mobility?
I've spoken about benefits. I want to just add something on, which I think maybe speaks to tools, but I think that another important dimension of international collaboration is maintaining the partnerships and maintaining the contact. So part of what Emery and I are doing, for instance, with our program that's bringing scholars from both of our universities together, is we are having periodic meetings, virtual meetings, among those folks so that they continue talking as well. So I think that in order to do this correctly, we have to think of it as a kind of continuum. It's not just about the time when you get on the plane and you go to another country or another place, get off the plane and you're there and you're doing the work and then you go back. That we have to think of it as having time of preparation, starting to foster those connections, starting to get the dialogue going, and then periods of reflection and continued contact afterwards. And I think that kind of framing and that kind of continued contact and continued engagement is one of the most important tools here. Because whatever insights we develop from our time abroad at other universities and other cultures and contexts, we need also to have a network of people that we can continue to go back to and continue to ask questions of and continue to try to collaboratively problem solve with.
Thank you. Professor Earle, same question to you, maybe with the focus on the teaching practices and making diversity in classroom.
Yeah. One idea comes to mind. My current institution, Sabancı, and my previous institution, Leiden University in the Netherlands, in both of these institutions, there was this unspoken agreement that you cannot keep on teaching the same course the same way forever. So you were expected to make some changes either in the content or method of the way you teach the course. A good way to get encouraged to do new things is to just go out there and see what other people are doing. Therefore, mobility was also encouraged for that reason as well. Like if you want to teach natural sciences courses in the core or in your faculty, you've been doing that for 5 years, you'll get these cultural signals from your colleagues and your dean or vice president that, hey, you need to start looking around and refresh yourself. And that, I think, works in our case. It's not formal, it's the culture. In both institutions I had that. In nice ways it worked. So this kind of cultural push factor, if you will, to develop something new is good.
Thank you. Professor? Yes, please.
I think it was all nicely said, and I think the greatest challenge is to promote mobility, because I'm sure all of us sitting in this stage, we benefited from international contacts, international mobility very much. But now it's also to make it attractive for students, for PhD students, and for our staff. That it's nice to sit in your warm couch, but sometimes you need to move out from your comfort and look for some new challenges, because that makes the world much more attractive.
I think it's the best advertisement of benefits of the mobility, national or international, our colleagues who are coming back. So we have to, sorry for saying that, we have to use them. So let's don't ask them just to fulfill some formalities, a lot of documents when they are coming, but let's organize a meeting with other colleagues, let's share this energy, let's share this kick of power with them. And I really hope that it will spread this way, psychologically speaking, the best.
I'm sorry, I need to add one more point because as many of you know, in about 12 days, a very important event is happening in the United States, which will have a major impact on the future of the world. And I am not a political scientist, as I noted at the beginning. I'm a philosopher, so I'm speaking more as an anxious citizen of what I hope in 2 weeks I can still say is a democratic society. And I want to say that one of the ironies of history will be that this moment in time will be remembered as having offered us an international movement that was dedicated to a critique and dismantling of the international order, and by which I mean the right-wing populism that we see in Turkey, in Poland, in Germany, in Brazil, in the United States. And I think that it is critical if we are to defend against illiberalism, if we are to be able to defend liberal democratic values such as the free exchange of ideas, equality, human solidarity, it is critical that all of us at our universities, in our respective countries, are partnering with one another and working together. It brings visibility to what we are doing, it brings protection to what we are doing, and it also enables us to understand how to confront some of the problems that we are facing in our universities. Emre has taught me a lot about what has happened in Turkey over the last 20 years, and it's been crucial and it's been valuable for us as we've been looking at some of these same political problems and questions in our context in the United States as well. So this is another, I think, both lofty benefit and also very practical benefit of this kind of international cooperation in an era of illiberalism and political polarization.
Thank you. There is a nice Polish saying that we need to go out from our own source, right? To see the broader perspective. Once at the Congress of Lawyers, I heard an opinion that what is international mobility need for, especially for lawyers? We have Polish law, so we need to deal only with that, right? But this is very important to see different perspective and maybe not implement other ideas right now, right? But start to make changes to do something better, to do something more sufficient. Any questions came to your mind during this time? Lunchtime? Lunchtime. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Oh, that's